All right, and we are live. I'm so excited. It's 7 o'clock p.m. on a Monday morning. So I would like to first welcome everybody back to Small Business Solutions Monday, where we are hosting live now at 7 p.m. Eastern. So I'm super excited for today's guest. East Coast made it so much easier for our time today. We are in the same time zone, and she is coming to us from New York City. But do not get thrown off by her beautiful accent. She is from Australia, and we are so excited to have her today. So without further ado, if you would like to give an introduction.
Hi, yes, thank you so much for having me on, and do excuse any of the traffic noise that you might hear. It is New York after all, New York City. But yes, so I am an Aussie. I've been over here for just over a year now, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've started businesses probably from 8 years ago. Everything from hospitality to e-commerce, like fashion, technology, and now I'm in the coaching business, which is super, super exciting. I love it. So basically I am now working on my latest project is called Growth Boss Academy. So it is a coaching program for e-commerce entrepreneurs, helping them build their business to multiple 6-7 figures based on human connection, tribe building, and funnels. So that's kind of what I do right now. And I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about my background, but I might just keep my intro there, keep it short.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty cool. So how long ago did you start this academy?
So we started it probably, I'm trying to think back, like April, I want to say.
Okay.
April or May, yeah. So not too long ago, but it was definitely the combination of all of my past 8 years of business experience sort of coming together. So yeah, it's super exciting.
Oh, that's interesting. So 8 years of business experience. So can you kind of like explain it and how you ended up getting to this bigger? Because I know for most entrepreneurs and business owners, it's kind of like amazing. 1 minute you're in one field, and next minute you're like, how did I end up here? So what is like your backstory? How did you
Yeah.
get here?
Do we have enough time? So I guess, yeah, it might be useful. Like, if you don't mind, if I go all the way back, because it might sort of give you a little bit of context about me and my situation. But
Sure.
So my parents are first migrants in Australia. So we're originally from Malaysia, and basically, like a lot of other families from Asian countries and other places, they really moved to Australia for us. So for my brother and I, to give us a better education, give us more opportunities. So it's kind of one of those things, and I don't know if you have any listeners or viewers on who are also sort of first migrant children, but there's a lot of pressure to kind of to do well, because that's kind of what you've been told all your life, that they've kind of sacrificed, they've given up things to essentially to give you opportunities, to help give you a better life. So I've kind of gone through my formative years kind of with this expectation that I was going to do big things. And it was all the way from like I started getting tutored when I was like 8 years old or something. I went to all of the good schools. I went to a really good university. I ended up doing a law degree, which I think actually broke my dad's heart, because he wanted me to be a doctor. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, that was the goal. That was meant to be the thing that I was going to do. I didn't end up doing that. I just hated science, so I'm like, oh, just can't.
You're like, no, that's not for me.
Cannot do that. Yeah. So I did law degree instead, which is kind of like the
Okay.
second best thing.
Second best thing, doctor, lawyer, that's up there. I support it.
And then I went into banking. So that was kind of, I worked for an investment bank based in Sydney.
Okay.
So yeah, so then and I remember I was actually really fortunate, because I was able to, quite early on, so I was like my early 20s, and I was actually put on this really big project at work, and it sort of afforded me it gave me a bird's eye view of, like, actually, I was in the same room with like really super senior people, because this kind of program was one of those once in a decade type regulatory reforms that had to go right. Otherwise, you know, we'd be hit with like, you know, a lot of fines, all of this sort of stuff.
Oh, wow. So it's very pressuring.
It was a lot of pressure, and I was fortunate because it was a high profile program, and I actually led a stream of work as part of it. So I was in the room here. I'm like a junior burger, I guess, at that time, in the room with some super senior people, like all the way up to the CEO of the business. And it actually gave me really, really good insight into what goes on in like the politics, the conversations that happen, the back channeling that happens. And I kind of like in that moment was like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think that corporate is going to be the thing for me, like, because seeing what you have to become, seeing, what you have to almost do in a way, it just didn't really feel good to me. It didn't really align to my values. So I think pretty much from that point on, I was like, corporate, it's not going to be the path that I'm going to go on. And then at the same time, my then boyfriend or partner, we kind of moved out together, and he was studying medicine at the time, so he was going down that, the doctor path, but he was actually really not enjoying it. So, if any to-be doctors out there, be warned. But we had just moved out, and he really loved he discovered that he really loved cooking and especially baking. So I love my desserts. And when we used to go out on dates kind of near where my parents used to live, there was this one restaurant that we used to go to. It was an Italian restaurant. And they had this amazing dessert, which was just this chocolate malt lava cake. And it was just super special. Like, it didn't seem like any other chocolate molten lava cake, because it was like, anyway, I could go on forever about it. But the point is that it was, I love that dessert. So he actually spent quite a bit of time perfecting this dessert for me at home.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so it was that time where I was kind of like, I just don't think corporate's for me. What's next? And he was like hating life, hating the degree he was doing. And we were like, you know what, let's just try it. He was loving baking. He was loving creating desserts and creating all types of different desserts. So
nice.
We took the plunge. We actually opened a dessert bar. So it was in hospitality.
Ooh,
yeah,
I like that.
And I just remember from there. So obviously we grew that brand. So we had 5 locations, and then we opened a burger.
5 locations?
Yeah. And then we opened a burger brand as well. So we have 2 of those.
Amazing.
And then we decided to make the move to New York. There were some things that, if we have time, I can go into, what prompted that decision. But we decided to make the move, which was, so we actually still run the businesses in Sydney. So we installed.
That's so cool. That's amazing.
Wow. And then here we are. I kind of feel I really really fast forwarded that whole journey.
Oh my gosh. I feel that, because it's like, when you're first starting out, it's like, did you ever envision that you were going to own and operate 5 different locations? You had one idea. So anyone is just tuning in. So you went from corporate, considering being a lawyer. He's like, no, considering being a doctor. Then you went to corporate, and you're just like, this isn't for me. You gave up all of your security, and you guys took the plunge and started one location and grew to 5 locations currently in Sydney.
Yes. All in Sydney. Yeah.
While you're in New York and you're still operating. That is amazing. It's
pretty crazy. I don't know how people don't quite understand how we can do it, or how it was a huge decision, I have to say. It was a huge decision to make. And but look, I think I'm really glad, everything happens for a reason. I'm a true believer in that. And I think that it's only been really good things that have happened, that have come out of it. So super super grateful for everything that's happened.
No, that's actually that's a great. It's nice to actually like have you on a show, and it's like this, like you own and operate multiple businesses. Just managing one is a job, but I'm pretty sure you can agree that in order to do that, you have to have processes in place. You have to have something in place that runs while you sleep, right?
Absolutely. So it was really funny because I was thinking back to the first, obviously I'm a coach now. So, and in my
Yes.
time, I've always believed in accessing coaches. So even now I have a coach, and even back then, I had a coach. I actually didn't get my first coach until probably maybe a year into starting the business.
Okay. So
and I remember
have a coach.
I did have a coach. Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
cool.
I didn't start my business with a coach. But
right.
yeah, definitely, and I can tell you like the reason, so I'll finish this thought and I'll go back to, so yeah. So one of the first things I remember my coach at that time telling me was systemize. It was all about systemization.
Nice.
If you want to grow a brand, it doesn't matter how small you are right now. You have to think and operate like you're a big brand, or like basically like a millionaire, in order to then actually achieve that. But yeah, the reason why I didn't really even know at that point about this whole concept of coaches. I don't know why that didn't really occur to me. I obviously knew from a career sense, from a corporate sense, about coaching, about building a personal brand and all those kind of things. But for some reason, it just didn't occur to me about business coaching. And I just remember the reason why I kind of started thinking about it, or trying to find out more about who I could access help from, was because, far out, when we first opened, and it was a bricks and mortar business, so we had rent to pay.
Nice. Right.
And like, I just remember these days where we would literally only be maybe bringing in like $100 a day, $50 a day, maybe selling like just a couple of coffees here and there. Like it was a disaster. It was
bills to pay and electricity running.
Totally. And wages and everything. And I know, because I now work with a lot of entrepreneurs, so I know that's not just me, but I think because we get so caught up in our product or the thing that we're selling, right? So we spent so much time before we opened on perfecting all of our creations, all of the desserts that we were going to be selling, essentially. And when you do that and you get so caught up in it, you fall in love with it. Right, you fall in love with it, and you it's
your baby at that point. You're like, I birthed it, I'm taking care of it, and it's going to grow regardless.
Yeah, and no one can say that it's ugly. No one.
Exactly.
It's not an ugly baby. But it was one of those things where I think, and this is, if there are any other entrepreneurs listening to this, we get so caught up in our product and the thing that we sell that it almost becomes like, to us, it's like, oh, of course it's a no-brainer that people are going to want this. Of course it's a no-brainer that people are going to be banging my doors down to get access to this. We had these visions of being completely flooded with people as soon as we opened. And I know that because I've spoken to a lot of entrepreneurs that is a common thing, right? We all, every time we launch a new shop, we launch something, like we just expect that people are going to somehow
be pouring out. Because you're like, this is a great idea. They're going to want this. Everybody needs it. And then reality hits, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so it was in that moment when I just remember, like, I'd be standing in the shop and I'd always feel claustrophobic. I'd always feel like, I don't know whether it was like the beginnings of, and I don't think I ever had like panic attacks, but it almost felt like almost that kind of feeling, because I was like, I don't know how we're going to make this work. Like, we don't have any money coming in the door. We have a lot of money going out the door.
Right.
We're on the hook for, a lot of things. And I just remember feeling so lonely. It was just so lonely.
It is.
Right. And obviously there are other entrepreneurs out there that you can definitely tap into, but like, your journey is your journey, and that journey is lonely. Even if you can talk to like we are, we can talk to each other and we can swap stories and we can share
ideas, but no one will still feel the feelings you have during that moment, because like you said, it's your baby.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it was then that I was like, oh my God, I know I need help. Like I need to somehow find, and that was kind of what prompted me to start looking for that help, which led me to my first coach.
Awesome.
And I was actually just thinking about this the other day. Like I actually took out, and I cannot believe I did this, but I think I was in such pain, or I was in, that I actually took out a personal loan. I took out a personal loan to pay for this coach.
Wow.
And you're like, yeah. So, and because the thing is that I knew that unless I invested in myself, unless I invested in the business, it was just not going to work out. So, that's the other thing, right? You invest in yourself, you back yourself. And I knew that I was like, okay, I'm on the hook. I'm paying interest on this loan that I've taken out. I need to pay this loan back.
Yes.
ASAP. So that was kind of my, the motivation, the drive.
The fuel that you had. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I love how transparent you are, and I love how you actually speak on your, not just like your experiences, but kind of like how you felt in that moment. And like you said, like, running a business sometimes is lonely, and that's why like this community was established to like provide people the opportunity to see what happens, the truth behind business.
Mm-hmm.
Business operations and being a business owner is rewarding. It is so rewarding because you create it, just like you create a child, right?
Yes.
But what would you say was like one of your biggest challenges, and how did you overcome it?
So I guess this kind of takes me to almost the reason why, or one of the catalysts to why we made the move. So by the time we made before we made the decision, we'd probably been running our businesses for about 6 years.
Okay.
And we had someone who was our store manager for one of our best performing stores. So it was located in the city, in the heart of the city. And he'd been with us ever since that store opened. So he was probably with us for like 5 years at that point. And
Wow.
and he was kind of like, we kind of earmarked him to be a super integral part of the business, so as operating as our 2IC, kind of our operations manager, things like that. So we'd put a lot of trust in him, and we actually found out that he had been stealing from us, and
wow.
And I'm talking about like hundreds of thousands of dollars, like,
oh my God.
It's a lot of money,
ladies and gentlemen. Holy wow.
So if you want to know what not to do, then definitely hit me up, because I have a lot of lessons there too.
Hit her up. Wow.
Yeah. So I think what really so there was a couple of things. So obviously, like, the pain of betrayal is one thing.
Exactly.
And I think also, what really shook us was like, and definitely me, is because I like to think that I have pretty good judgment of people, and to have been so wrong about someone, it kind of, and I take accountability very, very, like, I take it very personally. And so it was kind of like, I had failed the business. Like
you came down hard on yourself.
Yeah. And I think, that's, the whole thing about like, and this is a lesson again that I'm trying to, it's something that I'm still battling with in a way, and how to divorce myself from sort of failing at something versus being a failure yourself.
Right. Understand it.
Yeah. And I think that, so that really hit me hard at that time. And it was and why I say it was a catalyst was because it kind of started the thought of like, because when something happens like that, you kind of start to question everything in your life. And it was like, oh my God, is this where we want to be? Like, I know that I've always wanted to experience living overseas. And so I think it was just in that moment, it was like, it's time for us to try something new. Kind of like, let's just, in the same way that we opened our first business, we just took that leap. It was kind of the same thing. It's like,
wow.
So figure it out.
I commend you. You took 2 huge jumps. You jumped from corporate to starting your own business, and then you jumped from one location, Australia, and you came to the States to start a new business after having someone in a trusted position in your business steal money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, not 20, not 100, ladies and gentlemen. like huge lump
Yeah.
sums.
Yeah.
And the fact that you decided to push forward and still stand up another business says so much about you. Like, wow.
Yeah, thanks. I just don't think I know how to do anything else anymore, if that makes sense. Like, I just, even thinking about, could I go back to corporate? I'm like, there is no way. I just couldn't.
Wow.
Yeah, I just couldn't do it. So I think it's one of those things where, like, regardless, I will make entrepreneurship work, because that's all I know. That's what I know now.
That's
That's what I want to
amazing.
be doing. Yeah. So lots. I could go on about my backstory, but you pretty much have the highlights of all of the things that have gone wrong, and hopefully some things that have gone well as well.
Yeah, so let's talk about it. What successes, or what do you feel like is an accomplishment for yourself and your business? I mean, if I had to say it, just outside looking in, the fact that you're still pushing forward. There's so many. I know for me, just seeing my first business, just coming to a halt, it really takes something deep inside to like push forward. So, what would you
Yeah.
consider to be your biggest accomplishment with business?
Oh, I yeah, there are quite a lot. There are quite a lot. And I don't mean to say that in a,
I love that. You're like, hey, I
um,
had a loss, but I had a lot of wins. So,
well, that's the thing, yeah. Because I mean, even if we go back to the fact that we can be on literally the other side of the world and still be operating our businesses, and hopefully still growing them as well. That's still our plan. Is amazing. It's awesome. I love the fact that I get to do what I love doing. Like, I think that's why I say I can't go back to corporate. I mean, it's also the grind of, having to do a 9 to 5 and all of that. But the fact that can I can actually choose what I love to do,
yes,
day in, day out. I choose to be able to help other people, to be able to, and genuinely, I love when my growth
beautiful.
bosses have wins, however small, the time, if the first time they go live, that's a huge
It's a
win.
huge win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I love that, and I love celebrating with them. And so I think, if we talk about biggest accomplishments, I think it's like all of the
That's
to be honest,
beautiful.
like, whatever small part that I have in anyone's journey, that I can help them. Like, even the people that work in our teams in Sydney, a lot of them have been with us for a long, and it's unheard of in hospitality, right? For people to be
Yes.
in it for that long. But I think that's also something I'm really proud of, because we've been able to build a culture, we've been able to build a team that people want to be part of.
Yes. And you're
So,
providing jobs, and then what you're doing for those people is impacting their families. They have
yeah.
opportunity to, provide for their families. That's amazing. So I love the fact that you consider your accomplishments and wins not monetary. It's all from how you make other people feel. That's beautiful.
Yeah, totally. I think that's a thing. Like, once, obviously, it'd be great to be, to be rich. Obviously, like, I'm never going to say no to that. But but like, I think you very quickly realize when you go through this journey, because I think we all kind of somewhat started the journey going, yep, that's the goal. We want to be, I want to be rich. I want to, I want to get X amount of money or whatever. But I think it's like, when you start to either reach that goal or you get close to that goal, you very quickly realize that, again, if you were to die tomorrow, like, is that a life worth lived, just the fact that you've
Yes.
got $1 million now? You know what I mean? Whereas if I die tomorrow, I'll be confident in the thought of that I've been able to touch people's, like, I've been able to make an
Yes.
impact on other people's lives.
I absolutely love that. That is like the foundation of like what I do. Supporting other business owners and people who are trying to step out and knock that fear out the way, right?
Yeah.
So, with that being said, and your desire to impact others, how do you get your clients to manifest, within their business? What type of tools or resources or tips do you give them?
Yeah, so our whole strategy, we have a whole strategy around, and obviously, as I said before, we help e-commerce businesses grow. So definitely on the marketing side,
Awesome.
and it's all anchored in human connection. And I think the really great thing about that is, because so many times, why people tend to, and I do work with a lot of females, why they tend to shy away from from like the sales and the marketing is because you feel salesy, you feel slimy, you feel sleazy, you feel all these, stereotypical things when you think about a
You have
used
to
car.
throw yourself out there, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the great thing about the strategy that we've built is because it's anchored in human connection, because it's anchored in you genuinely wanting to help get an outcome for your customer, it's no longer about being salesy. It's no longer about being sleazy. It's no longer about being slimy. And in fact, asking people to buy so that they get their result
Yes,
is actually a good thing because you're actually helping them. You're
exactly.
genuinely helping them. So I think that's that's been a really key message that I've been sharing with with my clients to sort of almost get pushed through the fear of putting themselves out there, because it's not about them. It's actually about the people that they're helping.
No, I think that's great. So basically, like how you operate your own business, you're training other business owners to have that same philosophy.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, in this society, I think the biggest thing, and I keep touching on the pandemic and COVID-19 because I just think it's shook, our nation, right? And economically and with business, if we're not establishing businesses to help other people, like what are we actually doing?
Totally. Exactly.
Why are we existing? So
Yeah.
I love that your foundation and your teachings is based off of impacting and providing a helpful resource for your clients.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. That's awesome. So, what is the best way that people can contact you for additional? So, first and foremost, you are a wealth of knowledge. You started off with one business, you had 5 different locations, you experienced what it's like to have to start from scratch. You shut your business down, relocated to a different country. I think a lot of people could learn from you, and if they're looking for someone to mentor or to coach them, right? And the reason why I touched on coaching earlier, I said, oh, you did have a coach, not to take away from the fact that you had a coach, because some people want to do everything on their own so they can say that they did it. But I'm gonna tell you from experience, and I'm sure you can attest to this,
Yeah.
that first year that you did everything and laid the foundation will never be forgotten. That is the foundation to your creation, right? But your coach helped you and guided you and is able to take that hit for you and that padding. It's kind of like a padded wall, right?
Yeah.
You're guiding them through and giving them that experience that you went through the past 8-10 years, and you're like, here's the keys to success. So I would say when I was just starting out, I was like, hey, I'm not investing in a coach. I can do this on my own. I'll save my money.
Yeah.
No. Invest in yourself, learn from the experts that can give you the keys to success. Because I think the biggest thing that entrepreneurs and business owners who are just starting out are missing is that mentor, right?
100%. Yeah.
Yes. And then your knowledge and your experience is costly because, you're busy. So that's where the price comes in, but it's so worth it to have a coach. So what would be the best way for people to be able to reach out to you and connect?
Yeah, sure. So you can find me. You can find me. So Instagram, Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm at The Growth Boss. I just started today my free 5-day boot camp.
Oh, free.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to in on that, www.thegrowthboss.com/bootcamp. So www.thegrowthboss.com/bootcamp. And it's amazing. It's an amazing 5-day experience. We pour ourselves into even a free experience like this because again, we want to give back. And
Love that.
we want to help people. So definitely, if this calls to you, sign up, because it's an amazing experience.
Take advantage of the free training if you're listening and you're starting your business, or you're thinking about stepping out. If you are currently a business owner and hey, you're at the beginning stage, you're just starting out, glean from our guest who has been in business for years, 8 years, 10 years. And I keep saying, international experience with foreign and domestic business. That's awesome. So take advantage of this freebie, guys. But before we go, what advice do you have for any aspiring entrepreneurs that's listening, that's looking at you and saying, hey, she was bold, she was fearless, and I want to be like her. I want to just step out, but I'm afraid to fail.
Well, I think that's the thing, right? Like you're going to fail.
Yeah, that's the reality. We all fail
Exactly.
every day at something, but we have
It is so
10 more
true.
wins.
Exactly. It is so true. So I think that's the first thing. It's like you're just going to have to get over the fact that you're going to fail. But I think the great thing is that it's all about failing forward.
Yes.
Every time you fail, you are failing forward. You're learning from it. You're picking yourself back up, and you are a bigger, better version of yourself. So I actually. I'm actually really so grateful for all of my failures, and actually tell all of my clients and everyone that I speak to, like, embrace your failures, because that is
Yes.
what is going to make you, but it's going to make you more successful than anything else that you've done. So if there's anyone that's scared, seriously, that means you've got to do it. You've got to push out of your comfort zone, and that being scared is actually the best thing.
It is.
Because that that's the path you're meant to be on then.
Yes, yes, yes. So I agree with you. I almost think, like, just living life a little bit. I'm like, when you're afraid to do something, I think subconsciously, it's going to work out. You're just like, but I'm just afraid to put myself out there. So just
Totally.
go for it.
Yeah.
Just go
Yeah.
for it. That's so cool. Well, I want to thank you so much for your time and checking in with us from New York City. And like, and the traffic held out for us because
I know.
woo, there was some city traffic in the beginning, but that kind of makes it a part of a great experience. You cannot do New York without the traffic.
Yeah.
I am so thankful to have you on the show. It is an honor to have someone that runs 5 different locations, that has a business in Australia, that lives in New York. I commend you. And yes, if you're listening and you want to take advantage of this free boot camp that she has, here's the website one more time: free. Or if you want to connect, please feel free to connect. Okay.
Yes.
And I will have her social media information attached to this post. I'll go back and edit it for you all. So I am here every Monday with Small Business Solutions. And this is for all business owners or aspiring business owners who want to step out in faith and build that business for your legacy. Okay. Generational wealth, guys. All right. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Did you have anything else?
No, I think that was, I have plenty, but I know we're short on time. So
Awesome. All right.
Have
All
a lot
right,
of fun.
guys. Enjoy your week and happy Monday.
Bye.